Because for the first time ever, the Texas House has passed a bill that will give taxpayer dollars for students to attend private school. It's controversial legislation that is now one step closer to becoming law in Texas, and it happened after a long day and night for lawmakers. Shortly after photojournalist Manuel Villela and I arrived at the Texas Capitol Wednesday, opponents of the school choice education savings accounts bill made their voices heard.
Fund our schools! Fund our schools!
It was 8:30 in the morning, and their chants in the rotunda reverberated throughout the corridors and chambers as they hoped to influence the Texas House hours before they considered SB 2, the bill to spend taxpayer money to send students to private school.
Fund our schools! We are watching!
As their numbers increased, so did the volume. At 9:05 on the west side of the Capitol, House Republicans began gathering for a planned meeting with Governor Greg Abbott.
Jack, how's it going, man?
Good morning, Governor.
Nearly an hour later, I asked Governor Abbott about the meeting. What was your message today?
So we just talked about how everything that they've been doing is just common sense. Is common sense for Texas to be among the 2/3 of the states in the United States that support school choice. We are working to make sure that we use this pathway of creating school choice to put Texas on a pathway to becoming the #1 state in the United States for educating our kids. That begins right here, right now, today in the Texas Capitol.
How confident are you today?
Very confident.
We are ready for the fight today.
Back in the rotunda at 10 a.m., Democratic House members joined the rally held by those opposed to the governor's school choice bill.
This is the big day. I think that Texans are ready. Texans have shown up, and they have saying that they want to have their voice heard.
Lisa said she and other Democrats supported the idea of proposing an amendment requiring a statewide voter referendum on this issue before an education savings account program could become law.
This is about choice, right? So let's give the voters the choice.
At 11:40, a half hour after our first live report about the school choice bill, we spoke with Representative Jared Patterson of Frisco, who was among the Republicans who met with the governor. Patterson had posted on X about the meeting that turned this debate into a national story. Quote, "Remarkable live phone call between Governor Abbott, Texas House Republican caucus members, and the President of the United States this morning in support of our upcoming vote on empowering parents through school choice." The President called into the meeting.
This is a big vote today, and I hope you are able to vote in a positive manner.
It was an honor to hear from President Trump talk about the great work that we're doing here in Texas.
Chair lays out SB 2 as a
At 3:33 p.m., after lawmakers approved a bill to increase funding for Texas public schools, the House began debating SB 2. At 5:28 p.m., Democratic Representative James Tallarico of Austin proposed the amendment to require Texas voters approve taxpayer-funded education savings accounts before they could become law.
The governor has said private school vouchers are wildly popular. And so if he's telling the truth, I would think this referendum would have no trouble passing. I would also think the governor would welcome an opportunity to finally have a mandate on this controversial topic.
Republican Representative Mitch Little of Louisville rejected that.
Representative Tallarico, if we're going to delegate our lawmaking authority directly to the people, why do we need to be here at all? Why don't we just do that with every bill? Is there a good reason to do that?
But I think this body is justified in sending this issue to the voters for their approval because of its impact on public education, because of its impact on taxes.
But the amendment went nowhere. It was tabled by the Republican majority. Under the legislation, students who go to an accredited private school will receive about $10,000 a year through an education savings account. Those with disabilities will get up to $30,000 a year, while homeschool students will get $2,000 a year. At 8:36 p.m., tense moments as Democratic Representative Gene Wu raised his voice while debating the measure with Republican Brent Money.
I'm done with my answer!
He got one.
That tension turned to levity when Republican Brooks Landgraf, who was presiding over the session at that point, slammed the gavel so hard that it broke and shattered the glass on the dais. It's 10:45 at night, about 40 minutes after our last live report on the debate over the governor's school choice bill. And inside the Texas House chamber behind me, lawmakers have been debating for more than 7 hours now. It's already been a long day for lawmakers, and the debate could last into the early morning hours. While a universal program, students with disabilities and those from low-income families will be prioritized. It's now midnight, and lawmakers are still debating 8.5 hours after they began. Democrats have filed dozens of amendments to try to kill this bill, with no luck so far. At 12:58 a.m., the Democrats' 43rd and final amendment was tabled by Republicans. Then the final speeches by lawmakers before they cast their vote. They include Democratic Representative Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos of Dallas, who spoke against the bill at 1:09.
Please know we fought till the very end, and we're still fighting, but the fight is not over tonight. Elections matter, and that's why we need to continue to fight.
At 1:20 a.m., Representative Helen Kerwin of Glen Rose supported the bill. She is one of various Republicans who challenged and defeated incumbents from the same party who opposed school choice.
What we're really doing is, yes, we're delivering positive improvements in the lives and the education of our school children.
This is a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell.
At 2:06 a.m., more than 10.5 hours after all the speeches and debates began, finally, the moment of truth. Time to vote on the Education Savings Account bill.
There being 85 ayes and 63 nays, SB2 is passed.
After the vote, we spoke with Republican and Democratic lawmakers. They include Republicans Katrina Pearson of Rockwall and Mike Alcott of Aledo. Both are freshmen who, with the support of Governor Abbott last year, unseated incumbent Republicans who opposed school choice 2 years ago.
I think I'm just elated. We were determined to stay here as long as it took. You know, many of us have been in the front of this fight for decades, and today we delivered for Texas families.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of excitement in the chamber, especially among the Republicans, obviously, that voted for it. It's been an issue that's been front and center throughout the whole campaign that both of us ran, as well as the last 2 or 3 months. It's one of Governor Abbott's top priorities, and I'm just glad we got it past the finish line, and I'm looking forward to moving on to some other bills now. But no, we're excited, and I think you heard that back there, just how excited we all are about to get this done.
What do you say to Texans out there on why this is going to help students? Because we heard Democrats say this is welfare for rich people who already attend private schools. So what do you say to that?
One of the things I think that was brilliant about what Chairman Buckley did with this bill was that the way he staggered in these different tiers. And the first priority tier are the special needs kids, and then the second tier that gets funding after that are the lower income kids, and then just works his way up. So I just think it's a bogus argument, and we didn't buy it, and so we think it's going to provide opportunity and freedom for children, especially lower income children, to actually move up the ladder and find a environment that works the best for them.
Well, I think the Democrats actually made our case in the closing speech. You will find in one of the closings, they started out by saying, if it's true that our students have poor outcomes, then it's our fault. It's the government's failure. Well, that's why we're here, because there are a lot of families who are not happy with the outcomes in their public schools, and this gives families a choice to go to private school or charter school, all the schools that they have now at their fingertips, and parents will be in the driver's seat from now on.
My last question to both of you, I appreciate your time, is as far as what the Republicans say, that low-income students, disabled students are going to be prioritized. How important is it that the state actually follows through on that and makes that happen, at least until we see who all applies for this program?
I think it's very important, because I think that if that doesn't happen and you find that this money is only going to people that are currently in private schools and to wealthy people, it's probably not going to get renewed next year. I think it's going to be a PR nightmare. But I have full confidence in Chairman Buckley's the way he's written this bill, we're going to do it right, and those people are going to have opportunities that wouldn't have otherwise.
And I would just say the bill is actually structured for that purpose. When you're looking at private school versus public school, the children who are in private schools, and by the way, the schools have to sign up to participate in the program to begin with, and most private schools aren't because they don't want to have any types of regulations coming from the state. So this is designed for those low-income families to go to those schools that no one even talks about. Everybody wants to talk about these $50,000 private schools. That's not what this is for. This is for the low-income families who are in communities that have affordable private schools.
Democrats Mihaela Plisa and John Bryant, both of Dallas, expressed disappointment, and they challenged Texas Democratic voters to respond during next year's elections.
I think it's a tragic day for Texas as we see the Republican assault on public education that sustained us all of these years, that educated the greatest generation and generations after that. It's given us our community traditions, our Friday night football, our excellence across the board in business and in academia and in sports and in everything else that we've enjoyed as Republicans try to privatize public education by giving tax dollars to people to go to private schools, 2/3 of whom we know will be people that already go to private schools, not poor people.
I too am deeply disappointed in my colleagues. There still was a bipartisan effort to vote no on this bill, and I'm proud of my Republican colleagues who had the political fortitude to stand with their constituents and vote no. Look, everybody knows what happened here. Governor Abbott dumped a bunch of money in Republican primaries to scare a bunch of people off. And today, when Governor Abbott was afraid, he put a call into the White House to have Donald Trump call my colleagues and make fear into them for them to vote no on this bill. And that's what we saw today. Because even after Republicans voted no on this bill, they went on social media and said they voted because they felt they had to, knowing the bill might pass, but they are still skeptical in this voucher scam. So I don't think much has changed in the last 2 years since we were here.
What's next? What should and can Democrats do now that they've had second reading? Nothing's going to change on the third reading, but it may come back to the House if the Senate doesn't go along with the changes, right?
Well, look, this is what's next. What's next is the elections for all these people who decided to vote yes on this bill. Because I can tell you, I am a student of history, and I have seen that members who have voted for vouchers tend to lose their next elections. So all those members better stand strong in their convictions to vote to defund public schools and take Texas tax dollars out of public schools and put them in unaccountable private schools. Because I think, like I've said to you before, this is not a Republican or Democrat issue, this is a Texas issue. And the majority of Texans, this came out on Fox today, still wanted this to go before the voters and are against these voucher scams.
Representative, your thoughts on what's next? What do Democrats do next?
I think if there's an opening to defeat vouchers, we will certainly take it. I think, though, that we have to make clear that this is part of the Republican assault on public education and the attempt to privatize it. It's one more step in that direction.
Last question. What is your message to Democrats and others who oppose this legislation now that it's passed?
To Democrats?
And to others who are opposed.
Yeah. Our message is that elections matter. And if you want to support your public schools, you're going to have to leave the House and go and vote for Democratic members of the legislature. If you continue to vote for Republican members of the legislature, you're going to lose your public schools.
Well, my message is, my Republican colleagues talk a lot about eliminating property taxes and reducing people's property taxes. I can tell you one thing about this bill. This bill is going to make all our property taxes go up. And politicians are going to have to live with those consequences.